Today in Health IT, we have another interview from the CHIME Fall Forum. And what we did was a set of interviews in action, which we are really excited about. And I'm looking forward to sharing with you. My name is Bill Russell. I'm a former CIO for a 16 hospital system and creator of This Week in Health IT, a channel dedicated to keeping health IT staff current and engaged. Again, as I said, got a great opportunity to go to San Diego, visit with some CIOs and the people that make the magic happen in healthcare and healthcare IT. And here's another one of these great interviews. All right, another interview from the CHIME floor, and we are here with a member of the class from Welcome Back, Kotter. We are here with Carina Edwards. That was a great picture of you up there. You did. I'm sorry,
I came through and through.
I didn't finish with the Carina Edwards, Quil CEO, but the opening for CHIME. You were up on stage. You're a CHIME board member.
I am a CHIME board member. We did this whole skit for Welcome Back, Kotter, and yep, the New Yorker and me had to come out, and they showed my really big hair in high school. It was lovely.
Are you originally from New York?
I am.
That explains the New York Giants.
Totally, yes.
Well, but you lived in Boston.
I did. So I was born in Yonkers. I grew up in New York, and I went to school in DC, and then my first gig was in Boston. So it just became this thing where I always held on to the Giants.
The Giants, but not the Yankees or the Mets?
I was never that big into baseball, and so now because of my basketball allegiance was also not strong, so I'm a Sixers fan.
Okay.
And I'm a Giants fan. Those are my two sports.
That you follow?
Yeah.
Don't worry, Phillies, you're not missing much.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm sure somebody from Philadelphia is watching. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and so I grew up a Phillies fan, an Eagles fan, Penn State fan, all those things. But what I found is when you move around the country,
yeah,
it's kind of neat to root for the team where you live. I'm always going to be a St. Louis Cardinals fan. I lived there for 20 years. But when you move to a city, there's something about connecting with it and being there. And
well, it's great for me coming to Philly, because I think Philly is very similar to New York City. So it's just it's a gritty city, but it's close to New York, so I can get to the Meadowlands really quickly.
Yeah,
so for me, I'm still rooting for a local team, but I can't wear any blue on the streets on a Sunday.
Well, and the good news, Saquon Barkley went to Penn State, so
yeah, I had a little tie in there.
Okay, Giants. I know we're going to talk Quil Health. Don't worry, because it is. I want to hear your journey. It's been a while since we visited, but New York Giants, they've got problems.
They do. So Cowboys game, I have to give them credit, right? So 70% of the offensive line was in the locker room injured. Daniel Jones got that bad whack, but I give them credit because they had grit to come back and score a touchdown, and just like, I know they didn't win the game, but they showed grit. And last week, the Panthers, that was fun. It was
fun.
Wow,
you really are a diehard fan. It's like, we're going to do it. We're going to come back someday.
Not this year, maybe, but someday.
Well, maybe you should bring Bill Parcells back. Is that the last time you had a good team?
Come on, now we took 2 rings away from Brady.
Oh,
so
that's
come
right.
on.
That's true. You had the Eli years.
We did.
And the catch over the head and that kind of stuff. You really are a fan. You know all this stuff.
Ever since I was a kid.
Wow, fantastic. Quil Health.
Yes.
You guys are. When we first met, it was in Philadelphia, and we actually did it on location in Philly. That was fun, and got to see your location. You guys were early on. I think you maybe had signed Penn?
Yeah, so I joined in April 2019, and we basically signed Penn 2 months later. And so you and I think I connected right in between that.
Yeah,
so we just gotten started.
All right, so you just got started. That was a couple years ago.
It was. There was a thing called COVID in the middle.
That slowed things down a little bit, or did it accelerate it?
It accelerated some things for us. So what happened was we had Penn signed, we also signed Rothman Orthopedics, and so we had Philly covered. And we were looking to take our time to make sure that the platform we had built was really going to produce the outcomes that we needed, and we had time to tune it before we started scaling. So that was the fun journey. But what happened in March 2020, all of our patients went offline. And so we had to say, well, wait a second, we have this amazingly scalable platform. It can do any journey. So what's going on with COVID? And so we worked with Comcast and Independence Blue Cross, our parent companies, and there was so much misinformation going on. We partnered with NBC News and the Today Show. We curated a COVID preparedness toolkit and taught people how to work from home, how to homeschool your kids, how to caregive remotely.
Oh, wow.
And so we spun that up in 5 days. It was one of those moments where you're like, I hope it works, I hope it works. And so we brought in the Comcast scaling engineers, we got our back end scaled up, and we launched to 1.3 million members following Monday.
So you're ready to scale. Now, is this like stuff that's just going to go on the shelf, or is this stuff that like
proved out the platform.
It proved out the platform. So it proved scale. We could do it. And then 2, it proved the flexibility of how we bring together videos, articles, links, text, emails to engage populations and bring them back to a next best action.
So if I'm an Xfinity customer, and I happen to be an Xfinity customer, even though I'm in Florida, I think they're everywhere, I can essentially talk to my set-top box and say, what, and access Quil Health.
Yeah, so Quil is available on your mobile device or the web, but you can also go to the Comcast box, say Quil, or you can say what happens next into your voice remote. The Quil app comes up just like you pair your Netflix account or your Hulu account, you can pair your Quil account. So on the landing page right now is a ton of great information about the vaccine and why to get the vaccine and everybody should get vaccinated. And then 2, it's if you pair your journey, whether you're one of our 10 customers, we have 10 now, which is great. If you're one of our 10 customers, you can basically see your journey on the screen. So we're doing a lot with the television when it comes to oncology, new diagnosis, really sitting down with your family and understanding what it's going to mean to go through head and neck cancer. Another one that we're doing is a lot of PT, a lot of self-directed exercises. You already have the screen hanging on your wall. Why try to stand up your phone?
So this is, you go in and talk to, if I were at a health system, you come in and talk to, I assume the CMO, medical officer, and others, and you would say, here's what our platform can do, and then they sit back and go, where we could use that? We could use that here, here, and here. And so that's what's driving your content, I would assume.
It is. So we had a couple core theses on where to start. So the first was where anybody's entering into value-based contracts or capitated models, and so Medicare is your easy place, right? Where those things are capitated, and you have to control the 30, 60, 90-day post experience, and getting patients prepared for the better outcome is how we start them pre-procedure, and then we follow them through post-procedure, getting insights from them along the way.
Interesting.
And then we pivoted to chronics, because that's for the ACOs of the world, that's a big one. So COPD, diabetes, lupus, how do we make sure that we can enable the PCPs? And now we're also doing, fee-for-service is still thriving.
Right.
And so for differentiating service lines like musculoskeletal, cardiology, the areas of bariatric surgery, the areas that are growing revenue for health systems, so we're differentiating to prove, can we reduce risk? Can we improve patient compliance? And can we actually deliver a consumer-grade experience that's fun?
You know what I like about this? I talked to Glenn Tolman last week at the health conference, and the thing that Glenn is a master at is he knows healthcare. So he's able to say, okay, here's the soft spot. That we're going to go in here, we're going to solve this. Here's another one. And when I hear you talk like somebody who knows healthcare. And when I walked around the health conference and I talked to some of the startups, they're like, we think this and we think that, and I'm going, you might want to prove out your thesis before you take that $5 million or $10 million or
$250 million. The money is raining in. I've been in this industry for 25 years. The exciting part for me is we've proven outcomes with rigor, and so we've reduced readmissions, we've reduced length of stay, we've improved discharge to home, we've reduced ED visits. So I know on the outcome side the platform works, and the way we get patients through an episode of care is very differentiated.
Will you do studies like publish?
Yes.
You are going to do this.
Yeah, we're working with 10 on a few of them right now.
That's good stuff.
It's really exciting.
And the other thing is, when you're at one client, I'm interviewing you saying, hey, I really like you. Tell me about what it's like being in a startup. But when you're at 10 clients, that's validation in healthcare. That means
it's exciting, and it's also we're partnered up in the reseller channels. So I have a partner, PCare, who is the best-in-class interactive inpatient system. And so when you're hanging TVs on the wall and you're having your patients connect to their television, we can do the pre, they do the bed, we do the discharge home, and it's this lovely care continuum solution. And they've been great because they've been answering a lot of infrastructure RFPs for wonderful new towers going up. And so that's been a great route to market for us to prove value.
So talk to me about the road to CEO, because we met when you were at Improvada. You were not a CEO, but
I was not.
You're doing a lot of stuff. The interesting thing with what I see from the outside, because I see you on social media, I see, Carina Edwards is going to be here with Dr. Klasko, and she's going to be here with, and I'm like, how does she get the product done? How does she get the board meetings? How does she get sales? I mean, the role of the CEO is, is a lot of,
Sure.
it's a pretty interesting dance, isn't it?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to surround yourself with great people.
Right.
And I've had the great fortune of having a few folks follow me that we have a shorthand already, which is lovely, and I have an amazing team. You know, my CFO, my chief people officer, my chief of staff, they are aligned to the mission. They help us drive to the outcomes.
So you're not looking at code every day? Code release.
I just brought in Dwight Rahm to look at code every day.
Yeah, exactly. But what I mean, so there's an operation component.
Yes.
There's a marketing. There's a sales component. You end up being the face of the organization, or is it Al Roker? I mean,
no, it's really important. So I've always been. So my role at Imprivata was I ran all of our customers and our post-sale experience.
Right.
So running and being integrated in where the clinicians work and understanding the workflow and seeing the outcomes. That's business outcomes drive value. And so being the front end of this, to know the specifics of the journeys, to understand how our customers are using it. Like when you and I met back in the day, right, you were a CIO at St. Joe's and you were a customer, and getting in there to understand your business challenges makes us better.
So when you're sitting across from the CEO, you're saying, look, these are the results we're getting here, here, and here.
Yeah.
And you already know their challenges. Before you go in and sit down with that CEO, you know how much of their population is at risk, how much of their population is Medicare, Medicaid, all that stuff's
all that's public.
And so you're ready to talk about what you've done.
And also where they need help, right? Because I think everybody across the provider side is at a different stage of this journey. And so I think the worst term we're seeing everywhere is the digital front door. And we assume there's one.
All right, we're going to have to edit like 5 of my episodes now, but go ahead.
Because I think it goes back to, there's probably not one digital front door. There's different experiences you have to spin up for different patients on different parts of their journey. And the pane of glass that they use should be irrelevant. It's what's more convenient for them and the consumer, and more importantly, what's more convenient to their caregiver.
It's interesting. This is really being driven by the consumers' expectations have really changed during COVID. Are we tracking that? Because a lot of times we get anecdotal in healthcare. We go, well, everybody wants a digital front door, and the reality is when we look at the data, we go, you know what? They respond to text a lot better than they do our digital front door. Maybe, but we don't tend to look at that data. We just assume, oh, digital transformation means a really cool app or a really cool something. Are we tracking that, how we're interacting with the consumer?
Well, we are, and I think it goes back to everyone's got different digital personas, and when you're on different parts of the journey, getting a hip replacement is completely different than going through head and neck cancer. Right? If you're going through head and neck cancer, you have to have surgery. There is something where you have your family's impacted, you are impacted, your life expectancy is impacted. So getting prepared for that mentally and having a good outcome is tied to preparedness. Hip replacement is more, do you know the fundamentals? Do you know how to show up prepared? And then recovering from that, it's getting moving and making sure patients are moving. So sometimes getting moving means a TV and exercises. Getting ready for head and neck cancer, that means a lot of other offline conversations, just understanding the information when you're ready to hear it on whatever pane of glass you want.
What about, so we have a lot of conversations of health equity and those kind of things, reaching communities. Well, Philadelphia is one of those, because the interview I did with Dr. Klasko taught, he's very much, hey, that zip code is going to die 5 years quicker than that zip code. And he wasn't talking like 100 miles away, he was talking like
5.
Yeah, in Philadelphia, it was pretty stark. I mean, does the set-top box, does the phone, I mean, you have a lot of different ways.
So the phone, the text, and the emails really resonate. So we have, one of our customers is AmeriHealth Caritas, and they're a Medicaid provider. Okay. And we serve 187,000 Medicaid lives in Philadelphia 5 County. And really, for them, we're really driving up health literacy for caregiving, just on the notion of if you're caring for someone in the Medicaid program and they qualify for being a long-term shared services patient, what are the benefits? How do I navigate Medicaid? How do I make sure that the person I'm caring for gets the right care at the right venue at the right time? So it's been really interesting understanding their text email adoption versus long form video content. And then also with that population, we promote the Comcast Internet Essentials program, where any household that qualifies for Medicaid can get $10 a month internet and a $100 PC in the home. So we can start connecting homes in a different way, especially in urban environments that have connectivity.
Carina, we could talk for another
Sorry.
half hour easily. You're stepping off the board next year?
Yeah, my term is over
What
in
was it,
December.
a 10-year?
5 years. It was 5 years. It was phenomenal. It's a great organization. What we do here, I'm really excited for the Vive conference coming up. I think it's going to be a great marriage of
Will we
industry.
still see you
Yes,
at these things? Okay,
of course.
great. I was worried about that because, sometimes you and I, this is the only time we get together.
That's
so
fair.
We'll have to make it a little bit more next year. So
Look
thank
forward
you
to
for your
it.
time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
There you have it. Hope you enjoyed it. We did 10 of these interviews at the CHIME Fall Forum. Hope you check back for some of those other interviews to catch what the industry insiders are saying about healthcare IT.